What's up, guys? Dreamcast84 here. You know who it is. Yeah, I was trying to conserve some of this light, and the sun's coming down, and that's okay because you can just kind of go by my audio anyway. But I haven't done a REDBOX review in a while, and I got Pacific Rim Uprising. Now, I've seen the first one, and on this channel we did the Lego Batman movie and Get Out before. So I figured, hey, I didn't plan on doing a review, especially something random like this, but I think that this movie has enough social engineering in it to just choke a camel, for lack of a good analogy. But, yeah, this movie has pedophilia programming, it has homosexuality programming, and it's mostly homosexual programming. The action is good, the effects are good. It reminds me a lot of those Transformers movies, but it's actually better than Transformer movies because the action, you can actually tell what's happening. So it's a little bit more slow paced than those, delirious, just the fast-paced acting. It's just, it's kind of like a Christopher Nolan Batman movie where it's just too much at once. It's a little bit blurry with the action, but that's like a minor gripe when it comes to those films. But I don't know, like the big old monsters and the big old robots. I think the robots actually make the monsters take a back seat. The robots is why you really want to watch this film. But there is this main character, and he looks an awful lot like the main guy, not the main character from the Star Wars reboot, The Force Awakens, and I have not seen the Last Jedi, but that is on Netflix right now, and I totally don't recommend checking that out. Don't give the analytics the little meter count, okay? Because there is a feminist agenda, and now we all know about the feminist agenda, and it's very odd and weird because, okay, the elites use gradualism on us, right? So this movie in particular, it uses gradualism in a very offhand way. It kind of banks on the fact that you are going to just dismiss this movie as just a regular popcorn flick, and that's it. And you're going to dismiss the bad writing and the plot in favor of just assuming you're just going to ingest the propaganda and view this movie as a popcorn flick, but you're going to be carrying the information in your subconscious throughout your day. And I've seen this movie about an hour ago, and I've already forgotten most of it. But I'm going to retrieve the most that I can for this review. Now, yes, the main character looks like the Star Wars guy. And we all know that the Star Wars guy is a little bit effeminate, and it's been a while since I've seen the Force Awakens. I only saw it once. I thought it was okay for a reboot series. I heard that it doesn't really hold up with a lot of repeat viewing. But the main character guy, he looks an awful lot like this guy. And little boys are the primary demographic for these films. I would imagine that little 13 to 15-year-olds or little teenagers, they probably watch these movies and they're gonna identify with this main character. The main character in this movie, in Pacific Rim, he mentions on more than one occasion that there's this other guy, and he said he's a pretty boy, he's handsome, and all of this stuff. They're normalizing men complimenting other men, saying stuff. And when I grew up in a different time. We never said that. And then I don't keep up with current films as much as a lot of people do. I don't just ingest every little thing. I invest my time in things that interest me. I like big old monsters. I like Godzilla, right? So this movie appeals to the Godzilla fan in me. It's got kaiju monsters, just big old monsters. And, I signed up for the monsters. I didn't sign up for all this social engineering. And yeah, the main character, he's going to be complimenting other men, and of course, nothing comes to it because this stuff is all gradual and meant to attack you on your subconscious. So that's where this movie succeeds in trying to subvert. See, if you don't watch movies with a critical lens, you're going to let all these messages impact your internal world. And we're not supposed to be like that, because we're supposed to own our consciousness, not be impacted by it, because this is how you get demons. I watch a lot of like pro-Christian stuff, but Christianity has a whole lot of truth in it. When there's a lot of like Christian YouTubers that have like a whole lot of like hard-hitting facts and stuff. I mean, like, it's mind-bending stuff. It's good stuff, and it helps you awake your consciousness. It helps you truly learn about the reality that we're in. And the main character at one point was just pouring on sugar, just like he was eating like garbage food. And I was just thinking, we eat enough processed food in America, all right? And the processed food is particularly problematic. The refined sugars, like he was eating like whipped cream, sprinkles. He was eating just junk food at one point, because I mean, this is like dystopian, like years into the future, like 100 years in the future or something like that. And like processed food is a little bit harder to come by, therefore people are trying to like scavenge and stuff, so when they come across it, they'll eat a bunch of it. But when you eat sugar, that stuff messes up your glycemic index and your markers and whatnot. I'm not like the biggest food technical guy, but I understand a basic rudimentary knowledge of this subject. So it messes up your hunger, so you're gonna eat more. The more sugar you eat, the more you want to eat. And then you eat starches, and starches make you want to eat because starches have sugar in it. And then you make bad decisions. And especially if you drink alcohol, you're going to eat meat. And then, you're going to self-justify. You're like, oh, my stomach's full of this meat. Well, I could drink more because my body's already buffered. But it's just like you self-justify. I used to do that. I used to eat meat and drink beer. You know what I mean? I learned the hard way. I mean, but I'm not speaking from any kind of like point of, piousness or anything like that, for lack of a better word. I'm not holier than thou, because I can fall at any minute. Like, I've done really good for myself, but I can fall at any minute. But that's beside the point. But yeah, like, little boys are already looking up, especially black boys. They're going to look up to this character, and they may or may not put two and two together. This character is kind of like this, and then this character is kind of like that. So when you come across these people who look like this certain character, you're going to assume things about them. You're going to project onto them. You're going to, I don't know, it's just like they're feeding you a bunch of narratives about these types. There's these archetypes that are out there. There's always going to be like a Marilyn Monroe archetype, the blonde. The Masons want to keep a blonde as a famous person all the time, because there's something to do with sacrificial stuff with blondes. And that's just an example. But there's stuff with archetypes, and that stuff in fantasy movies, it affects little boys' inner worlds, and they are going to emulate, because when I was operating on a lower frequency, after watching movies, it would impact me, and I would kind of copy. And I think as human beings, we do kind of revert to that, because we need to learn how to operate on our higher functioning level, our brain, and not do so much on the emotional. And I've been thinking about the food industries with all the cattle and the slaughter and all of the meat stuff, and I'm not going to get on a tirade against meat eaters and stuff. I hope that people make rational decisions and humane decisions and stuff, but the death industry basically is it's a reason why we live in such a society that's just very uncaring about other people's suffering, because I'm a circumcised man, and society has totally shafted me. There was a praying mantis on me just now. I hope it wasn't a male praying mantis, because I don't want to mess him up. I kind of flung him on the deck here. Sorry, little dude. But yeah, sorry. I normally don't have insects. Like, if I have flies that land on me, I just like let them do their thing, because that's a life, right? But I kind of flung that little dude, and he's just kind of staying still. But that's kind of in their nature, to just stand still. But yeah, we got this industry that's just killing animals, and then we have this cognitive dissonance where people are just going to eat it. And then, like, we're told from books and Bibles and stuff, hey, be a good person. be good to other people, but we're not going to be good to animals, because there's a chain of life. Like, everything's related in this world. We're all energy and stuff like that. So when you're eating a dead animal, you're going to be ingesting the fear and the spirit and everything like that. And there's got to be spiritual ramifications for that. And, you know, so, I mean, they normalize all kinds of stuff in media. Like in Mad Men, you'll be seeing them drinking alcohol like all the time, smoking cigarettes like all the time, and stuff like that. And that totally just fuels the same industries, because the same people own a lot of the same industries. Like, you know, a lot of the soda companies, which, you know, let's not get started on soda, but they own beer companies too, stuff like that. And it's just not healthy. So for little boys to watch this movie, it's a big old monster robot flick. It's kind of like so much happening at once. These little boys are going to look up to these characters. They're going to see that this guy is eating a lot of sugar, and they're like, hey, I like sugar. This guy likes sugar, and he's eating more sugar than I ever would. Let's just keep up with the sugar. Let's make it our lifestyle. So, but it's like little pieces of glass in your veins that are messing you up. It just, I'm sure there's a cancer correlation. You know, refined sugar is just not good, and plus the amount of refined sugar in soda is ridiculous, and plus they add something into soda to make you not throw up the amount of sugar that you just ingested, because you're not supposed to ingest the amount of sugar that is put into soda. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. But anyway, so there's that aspect of it, and that same character was complimenting another character, just saying he's handsome and all this and stuff, but they never really implicitly said that he was gay. But men don't compliment each other like that. We just don't. I grew up in a time personally where we would say, you know, you know, FAGGOT. We would call people that, or RETARD. Why am I spelling it? But that was the times we lived in. That's just the way it is. And you know, now it's just like we're fed this line of dialogue, like we're supposed to be so understanding of people being gay and stuff, when like you actually know like a small percentage of the population that is gay. And I mean, the majority rules. Like, we shouldn't be making exceptions for all of these, like, you know what I mean? Like, we shouldn't be capitulating to females as much as we do, because that's like not really progressing society. And we shouldn't be capitulating to these transgenders because they're confused. Why are we catering to confusion? Why are we catering to confusion consciousness? Makes no sense. And it's the food additives, the soy lecithin that's in food. Soy messes up your testosterone, and it makes you grow man boobs, and it makes you more effeminate, makes you more whiny. I guess you might interpret me as being whiny right now, but I'm speaking truth, and I'm being very righteous in that regard. And I guess I think of myself as somewhat of a light worker. If I am working for God, then great. But I'm not going to necessarily advocate for any kind of like a religion. Now, inner spirituality, that's here in your temple. This is the temple right here. But yeah, you know, if you're going to go to a brick and mortar church, you're in for a bad time, because they're judgmental and crappy and trying to like socially condition you into like marriage and like signing contracts, and it's all weird and Masonic. There's tons of like Masonic like checkerboard tiles in many churches and stuff. Yeah, the church I grew up in was very Masonic and weird, and like the people were just weird, you know. And they want to gaslight you and make you feel like there's something deficient with you, which is another thing about this movie, Pacific Rim. There was like this one part, and I always pay attention during the third act, because that's when you suspend your disbelief the most, and they know this, is that there was so much like weird dialogue, or like accelerated dialogue at a certain point, and it was like technical jargon and stuff. They do that on purpose. They do that on purpose because they want you to feel stupid. Because when you feel stupid, you're more liable to accept the narrative that is force-fed later on. Because once you feel inadequate and you feel like self-defeatist, that's when you're more susceptible. Because when you're like depressed, you're going to eat more ice cream, right? You know what I mean? Like, and ice cream's horrible too. It's got dairy, and dairy's bad. But I was just using that as an analogy. So, you know, when you feel deficient or you feel like you're not good enough, which movies totally do. Like, if you notice, a lot of movies, they say, like, you see the main characters driving awesome cars, always getting the woman and stuff like that, and then you know, you're like, hey, that guy's cool. I want to be like that guy, because if I'm like that guy, I'm going to get the girl, right? No, that's not how the real world works, because there's a disconnect. Like all those movies that advocate, like, yeah, just smoke weed, yeah, life's a party, yeah, just smoke weed. Yeah, go out on the street and see what happens. You will get busted for that weed. And yeah, if you hear any like background noises and stuff like that, it's just because I'm outside. But the light kind of has like a nice little simmering quality right now. I'm happy with the lighting right now. It's okay. And yeah, there's a little girl in this movie as well. And she looks like she's 13 or something. And like, I had a discussion with a coworker here recently, and he said, yeah, like kids are growing up faster these days. I know what he meant. I know what he meant when he said that. What he meant was that kids are getting their periods quicker, and it's because of all of the additives in the food, all of the growth hormones in the meat and the cheese. Milk is cancer rocket fuel, and people just chug it. I did when I was a kid because I didn't know better, because like 80% of everybody, I mean, I don't know, I use that that percentage, that is estimate, like a lot, but I'm assuming it's true, and it feels true, that it's 80% of people are just not awake. If you are truly awake, you are in the vast majority. I mean, minority is what I mean. And this little girl, she was pretty much like acting like an adult. They tried to make her like it was crazy. She built a robot by herself, and that was written in that was written into the script, and it's just totally not grounded in reality. It's like the main character guy came across the little girl and he said, "You built this?" And she was like, "Yeah, I did." And like, I was just nodding my head the whole time. I was like, no. This is not, because women are not technically minded. Not saying that they can't, but they just don't have interest in that kind of stuff. So, just having a little girl, like, being so interested in the kaijus and the robots and stuff, that's what little boys are into. And plus, the little girl kind of looked a little bit boyish. Like, I wasn't sure if she was a boy or not at first, right? And so she was acting like an adult, and she was like, there was something to do with the bickering and bantering between her and that main character guy. And it was just, my discernment was saying they're trying to normalize arrested development in adults. And they're trying to say that it's okay for adults to act like children. Now, there used to be a clear distinction between adults and children. There used to be a distinct line in between that. And now it's just blurred lines. You know, it's just everything's all like confused and stuff. And I mean, I guess that ties in with the homosexuality movement, because this push towards homosexuality, it's wrong. And that's my I've said on my recent videos that I am embracing intellectually induced asexuality. So I'm going from being a heterosexual to an asexual. And I guess that you can nitpick and say, are you an incel? I'm definitely a MGTOW, and I definitely consider myself a MGTOW monk. So I'm going to an asexuality mode, and like I'm just way more focused, and it's like a pressure was lifted off of me, because like I don't want to give women like their egotistical, narcissistic ego boost. Like it's so weird. It's like their energy vacuums. It's like they want attention, but then once you give them attention, they get this smug, like, yeah, I'm better than you. And it's like, I don't like that energy. And I'm not sure if people are really talking about this or acknowledging it, or if they're talking about it in the way that I'm expressing it right at this moment. But I don't like giving fuel for these narcissistic, like, gaslighting, sociopathic people who are just parasitical. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like, it's such a mind game to go out in court and do this and do that and do that. I've gotten girlfriends before, and it's been a challenge every time. Like it's unfair what we have to do as men in this society, and that's why we're opting out. And I see that America and all over the world, because everything's interconnected, right? That we are moving towards asexuality, because online you have access to sexual stuff at your fingertips. You can look at sexual stuff all the time. There's going to be a burnout with that, because the human body can only take so much output when it comes to that sexual energy, because that will drain you. See, if you refrain from masturbation, you will retain testosterone if you're a man, and you will have more energy and more clarity of mind, and there's tons of benefits. I'm speaking from experience, because I'm an advocate for NoFap, so it's helped me out. So I'm just I don't know, just these movies just keep you grounded at this base level vibration. And I'm just sharing myself on this channel because I can, and hey, I want to help other people, and like maybe somebody on my channel who likes video games will check out this video, and then they'll be like, you know what, this is cool. Maybe I'll check out some of these channels that he's checking out, or maybe I'll check out his subscriptions and stuff like that. And maybe there's like-minded people. I only have like 140 subscribers, but that's something. I appreciate everybody subscribing, but yeah, I mean, like pertaining to this video or this review, the movie itself, I give it like a. I'm not about to end it just yet, but I give it like a. It's a middle of the road movie, but the action was pretty good, and it was better than the first one, so I'll just give it like a 6.8. I'm just throwing that out in the air. It doesn't matter what I rate this really, because like what I really want to talk about is the social engineering and the brainwashing and the gradualism aspect of this. And do I recommend? No, I think that it's just generic action. You could probably get better action from just like other classic films. I recommend like the old Godzilla movies. And back on point, yeah, there was this little girl, and she was acting like Butch and stuff, and there was like this bickering dialogue between her and this other like boyish-looking girl. Like there was some sort of like love-hate thing. There's like a very fine line between love and hate between women. They can go from like absolutely hating each other from absolutely loving each other in like a heartbeat. But there was some stupid like rivalry, and it's weird how like she was acting like a boy, like with boy interests and like fighting and stuff. And like there's this confusion with the media where like people conflate fighting physically with being masculine, and that's like really wrong, because like what's really masculine is the exchange of ideas, like the old philosopher times. And like the way I'm talking to you on this video right now, if this resonates with you, then that's awesome. Like sound off in the comments and stuff. But this is what we should all be doing. We should all be talking about stuff on this level. And I guess I'm somewhat inspired by Left Side of the Brain, because he uploaded he uploads awesome videos all the time, and he's a great guy, and he's very insightful. And he was talking about Freemasonry and stuff here. I asked him if he could do some topics about Freemasonry. He was talking about how like everything is an induction, like we're all being indoctrinated all time. Like life is an indoctrination. You don't really need to go through man basically to. I mean, I already knew that, but he just affirmed what I knew about it. It's just that. I mean, it's just there's messed up stuff at the top after the 33 degree or 32nd degree or whatever. But that's beside the point. That little girl character is just kind of weird, because it was like there was this military presence or something, like the soldiers that are inside of the robots. They like it was like a bunch of adults, and then for some reason she got conscripted onto the team or whatever. So it was just this little girl hanging out with a bunch of adults. That's why I say there's pro-pedophilic stuff. There's this. It's just very subtle, but it's there. And I was thinking about the codependency mindset, because you can't have just one person operating the robots, although you totally can. And they did in that movie with the small scale. That little girl that says that she made that one robot, well, she was the only driver of that robot. But with the really big hulking ones, you need two. And they do this thing called the neural handshake, and where your brain interconnects, and your memories and their memories, I guess you become closer to the person, because you're like, oh, you went through something deep? Oh, well, I went through something deep. And you're led to feel like you're supposed to feel something. But yeah, the movie is advocating for codependency mindset, and that's like like self-deprivation mindset, because we're supposed to be so selfless. We're supposed to live for other people. Don't live for yourself. Oh, that's selfish. You should be shamed for living for yourself and trying to be a free-thinking individual. Shame on you. What you need to be doing is get in a robot and get interconnected, and you know what I mean, like, because that's pair bonding. And little boys are watching this movie, and anybody can get into the pair bonding mindset. So they're kind of like gradually like trying to introduce the idea that it's okay to just get with anybody. Basically, you can, I can marry this chair if I want to. I got the one I'm sitting on. How about that? That'd be a better example. But you can't hook the chair up to a thing. But I guess they're advocating for being flexible with pansexuality, I guess, or just any kind of sexuality. It seems like after feminism, they are really trying to normalize just like anything's out there. You know what I mean? Just like anything. You could be anything. I think that we are kind of conditioned to be certain ways, but I do have discernment and spirit in me, and what my spirit tells me is that homosexuality is just weird and wrong, and you're not supposed to do that because your organs are, like your output is not designed to handle that. And that segues into the dialogue. There was total homosexual dialogue because there was two scientist guys, and there were same guys from the first movie, and like when they met again or whatever, like the Charlie Day character, he said, oh well, we were inside each other's brains because they shared brains with something, because they were like testing stuff out with the kaiju monsters, and like that dialogue, like it flows because they were saying, oh, we were inside each other's brains, but like here I am just being critically minded, and like that stuck out to me. I was like, yeah, that's a subliminal, because the human brain picks up like things in a linear progression, so you're gonna hear that little part. So that's enough gradualism to just kind of embed, and like it was like the one like extra, like there was one too many is what I'm trying to say, one too many like homosexual type stuff. Like the little girl was talking to the main character about the oh, the sergeant guy's gonna get upset at you, so he's gonna take the stick that's already up his butt and beat you with it. And that kind of analogy, not a lot of people say that like, where did that come from? And Hollywood is run by a bunch of like pedophile homosexuals. There is such a thing as a gay mafia, and there's star whackers. Randy Quaid talks about star whackers. Not enough people research Hollywood, because when you do, like, that's like you'll get into like that Pizzagate type stuff. And so there's a lot of like homosexual narrative stuff, and there's like implied lesbianism, pedophilia, and I that reminded me of, I saw this Djibouti dubs. I know I watch silly stuff, but they're hilarious. I watched a video they did about E3, and there was like a little clip of The Last of Us 2, and that little that character. I really like the first Last of Us on PS4, and The Last of Us Remastered, and the main character Ellie, the little girl, she's kissing another girl, and it's just messed up, because I'm not used to seeing the normalization of homosexuality to that extent. And people are going to demonize homosexuals for being homosexual, and I mean, on a moral, men are more spiritual. We're supposed to guide society, but we've been disenfranchised, and just every fiber of my being says there's something wrong with this. And with women, I feel weird about it too, but as a society we just let it happen. But women need to be shamed for being lesbians, because it's not right. And like I know somebody that's bisexual, and they told me that they don't feel like it's right, and they go to church. That should tell you a little something. But that's my experience, and that's what's coming from me in my heart. So I don't know, you tell me. But this video is not necessarily about that, but it's just that I felt driven to make this video because, like, I'm able to articulate at this moment, how I feel about all this stuff. And Pacific Rim Uprising, man, it's just got a lot of just agenda type stuff. And like, I'm sure there's more to it. I think I've talked about like the majority of what I wanted to talk about. But this movie, man, just like, yeah, I don't recommend it. What did I give it? A 6.8? What did I give it? I don't even know. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm just trying to rack my mind of like what's going on with all of this like social engineering, like just gender swapping, like ageless, like, you know, like kids can be adults, or they can act like adults, and adults can act like kids. And just what I disrespect the most, or what I don't appreciate the most, is that this whole film is just kind of a facade, just a little weak veneer. It's like it's a polished little robot movie, but it has to have all this stuff attached to it, and I don't like that. And in this modern day corporate culture, nothing can just be one thing anymore. You have to have just everything with just a little asterisk. You know what I mean? And just like, I'm tired of how blatant it is, because I mean, I know I'm not the only one speaking of it. And I had to make a video too, because I did a little quick search on my phone, and I was looking up Pacific Rim Uprising social engineering. Nothing. Maybe I should have searched for agenda. I might have gotten different stuff, but you can't tell me that the internet's not censored, because they make it really hard. Like, they'll bury stuff. And they'll put out stuff that's already been funded and stuff, and like they'll try to get you to think in certain ways, because like you'll type into Google, you'll be asking like send it, you know how they do autofill? They try to, like, you don't ever read autofill. Just go ahead and type what you meant to type if you're on a laptop, or, you know, I'm on tablets a lot, so it's like it's kind of a little bit harder to do. But you really got to be like self-disciplined in your mind to make sure that you can be a step ahead of all this social engineering stuff, because it's like the internet's molding your brain. It's molding the way we think, and in a lot of ways it's a good thing because we have access to information, but in other ways it's bad because a lot of people aren't going to like search for information. That's always what I do. I'm guilty of looking for confirmation bias, because I feel a certain way and then I look for confirmation bias and then I find it. I guess I'm a little bit judgmental in my ways that way, but I feel like I got a good sense of discernment, so I do that. I'm straying off topic here, but yeah, just using this robot movie as an excuse to sell us and to peddle your little feminist, pro-homosexuality, pro-pedophilia, just sick agendas. Shame on you. Shame on you, Hollywood. I guess that we are to blame as people for, you know, subscribing to this stuff. And I don't know, it's just like old movies are better. I'm like caught up in the 90s. I recommend just checking out 90s stuff, but this is 33 minutes. Maybe I should leave it on 33 because of 33-degree Freemasonry. Nah, let's not. Not every 33 means something. But anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. I guess I've talked enough about this, but yeah, man, Pacific Rim Uprising, just skip it. Don't watch it. All right, thanks for watching, guys.